Okay, so Kroger just announced its new lineup in its cake series, and we're on our way for the midnight release of the third one. I got the first two because another Kroger actually got them out early, and it only cost me a gunshot wound because another old lady was shooting me over getting all the cakes. I can't wait to get this third cake here. Shit! Okay, so I guess I got
6 minutes, 38 seconds
before the midnight release happens. So let's talk about one of the greatest games that is associated with cake, Portal. Most big video games have a lot of hype leading up to their releases, like Cake can. But sometimes a game that doesn't have hype and slides in under the radar can have the biggest impact on the industry. Portal is one of those games. See, no one actually expected Portal to have the impact that it did. It kind of just exploded. Let's rewind real quick. The original concept for the mechanics of Portal actually began with a game called Narbacular Drop by a couple of fresh out of college developers working at DigiPen Institution of Technology. And one day at DigiPen's annual career fair, Robin Walker, the creator of Valve's little IP known as Team Fortress, got to play Narbacular Drop and asked the team to show the game to Gabe Newell, the president of Valve. Newell actually ended up loving the concept when they were able to show it to him, and he offered all 8 of the developers a job at Valve to make the game using the same Portal mechanics. Thus, the team began work on their next project, simply titled Portal. Fast forward to 2006, and Valve needed just a little bit more padding in its upcoming release called the Orange Box, so naturally, they wanted their new IP to be the icing on the cake. However, the devs weren't really close to being done with Portal, so they had to work overtime to hit their goal. This required the team to cut some corners and trim the game down to bare needs. However, this ended up working in the game's advantage. The Orange Box released in 2007 and absolutely exploded. Portal felt so tight and focused. Not an inch of this game was wasted, and it feels refreshing to play a game that doesn't waste your time for the padding. I hate padding. Let's jump into that game. We open up with a lady named Chell, our silent first-person protagonist. I mean, it is a Valve game, so I don't know what else you would expect. Getting up from stasis sleep and being told that we must fulfill our purpose of completing portal-based tests. These tests are all puzzles that we have to solve to move on to the next one. Puzzles are the name of the game, and when it comes to Portal, you use your portal gun to create portals. The portal gun creates a blue and orange portal, and it lets us transport seamlessly between each portal. And that's about it. It may sound very basic, but that's what it is, and it's brilliantly created that way. Use the portals to do some really fun physics things, and most of the time, the puzzles will allow you to approach each one in a way that you want to approach it. The first couple of tests are fine, but each room adds more and more to what you learned before. And soon, it becomes very dangerous as you have to dodge gun-infused turrets, toxic water, and bottomless pits. It is so satisfying to solve each puzzle and to continue on to the next area. And all along, I was getting roasted by the station's AI. GLaDOS. I mean, who doesn't love GLaDOS? She has very dry humor, is actually super funny with that humor, and is, very bloodthirsty. From the moment you wake up, you're welcomed by the only voice actor in the entire game. GLaDOS is the motivation behind the game, and when you think that you're ready to put the controller down, you hear her come over the speakers and say something that makes you want to push forward to prove her wrong. After a handful of puzzles, GLaDOS decides that she's done with your silent ass, so she decides the most subtle way to relieve you by drowning you in fire. I remember the first time seeing this, I paused, thought very deeply for a couple of seconds, and had the very calm statement of, this bitch. And I decided that I was going to show her what I was made of. With this new determination, I evaded the fire trap and headed through the facility of Aperture Science. After a few weirdly placed loading screens and climbing my way up through the facility, I find GLaDOS, and I begin to confront her for my freedom. Or, for revenge. Here we actually find out that GLaDOS has a couple of cores known as personality cores hooked onto her. See, the scientists put them on her in an attempt to stop making her kill everyone. Didn't really do a good job as we can see. But we jump in to fight her, and with the destruction of a couple of cores, GLaDOS begins to destruct and the facility collapses. We then pass out on the surface and are dragged away by a mysterious unknown person. We didn't get freed, but we did kill GLaDOS, which really at the end is all that really matters, because it's not like she can come back from the dead in like a sequel to this game or anything. So as I said earlier, you do get to make 2 different types of portals, a blue and an orange one, and there is some crazy stuff you can come up with in this. Usually, I found myself taking a lot of items through these portals, or allowing a lot of things to be transported through these portals. I remember one where there was this little ball bouncing around and I had to get it into a certain socket so I could get it to the other side of this chasm that is full of toxic water and there are turrets all around me. I had to think really outside the box to solve that one, but when I did, it was so satisfying to complete it. There's not a whole lot to be said about the gameplay as it's pretty basic FPS stuff, just with portals. They really knew how to make you think with this game, and They made sure that if you got stuck with something, you could easily fix it yourself or start over without any fuss or fuss, so it wouldn't mess up the flow of gameplay like a reset button would. Also, in every area, there are these little radios that you can find. I was always told you had to get them to the end of each test every single time, and I don't think that's actually true. Every time I did that, nothing really happened. I didn't get an achievement for it either, so I don't really know what these are here besides just to play some groovy music. And speaking of music, I have to talk about the credit theme. Oh my goodness, Still Alive is so beautiful, and it's such a nice and cute way to end the game. It tells us that we are indeed still alive, and I remember after the first time playing the game, I couldn't wait to see where they went with the Portal series next. In the end, Portal is such a fun game that feels so tightly made, compact, and well developed. If you haven't looked at it, you're seriously missing out on this staple in the video game industry. I mean, even to this day, there are still tons of fans that use the simple but intuitive controls to make their own levels for this game. So the replayability seems endless. Oh, I almost forgot that the midnight release for the third cake is about to happen, so we gotta get to Kroger right now. Okay, so we got the third cake in from the midnight release. Wait a second. I f***ing hate cake.